Magandang araw muli sa inyong lahat. Welcome sa ating channel, Sir Lopez Vlog. Sa araw na ito ay magkakaroon ulit tayo ng self-evaluation dito sa subject na Fundamentals of Criminal Investigation. CDI1 ang kanyang course code at usually subject ito ng mga first year criminology students. By this time, this is also intended to those who are preparing for the board examination this coming December. Alright? Ang mga kasagutan, makikita lamang dito sa ating description box. Kung nakanda na tayo, let's start to question number 1. In searching the crime scene in a large outdoor areas, it is advisable to divide the area into strips. What is the ideal measurement for every strips? A. About 4 feet wide. Letter B. About 6 feet wide. Letter C, about 8 feet wide, or letter D, none of them. Number 2. What method of crime scene search when the area is blacked out in the rectangular method? The three searchers, A, B, and C, proceed slowly and at the same place along path parallel to one side of the rectangle. A. Well method. B. Zone method. C. Strip method, or letter D. Spiral method. Question number 3. In the collection of evidence, the investigator should touch the evidence only when necessary. A. True. B. False. C. May be true, or letter D. May be false. Number 4. These are pieces of physical evidence that would clear one of blame. For example, having a blood type different from that of blood found at a murderer scene. A. Circumstantial evidence. B. Exculpatory evidence. Letter C, real evidence, or letter D, testimonial evidence. Number 5. This is the investigator's responsibility to ensure that precaution is exercised to preserve physical evidence in the state in which it was recovered or obtained until it is released to the evidence custodian. A. Collection of evidence. B. Identification of evidence. C. Preservation of evidence, or letter D. Presentation of evidence. Number 6. What kind of sketch is drawn at the scene of the crime? A. Finished sketch. B. Crime scene sketch. C. Rough sketch, or letter D. Unfinished sketch. Number 7. Referring to the fact that the crime has been committed. A. Evidence. B. Proof. C. Corpus delicti, or letter D. Investigator. Number 8. Finding no evidence or witness should not be viewed as hopeless, but as a challenge. Hence, is it letter A? For there is no perfect crime, only imperfect investigators. Letter B. In the absence of witness, solution is nil. Letter C. Evidence should be gathered in the manner prescribed by the Constitution, or letter D. None of them. Number 9. An extrajudicial confession obtained from a suspect is admissible in court of law if it was made in the presence of a counsel of his own choice and must be, letter A, the presence of a fiscal or prosecutor. Letter B, The presence of a police investigator. Letter C, writing, or letter D, front of a judge. Number 10, the questioning of a person in a formal and systematic way and is most often used to question criminal suspects to determine their probable guilt or innocence. A. Inquiry. B. Interview. C. Polygraph examination, or letter D. Interrogation. 11. A form of investigation in which the investigator assumes a different and unofficial identity. Letter A, tailing. Letter B, casing. Letter C, espionage. Or letter D, undercover work. Number 12. A type of surveillance in which extreme precautions and actions are taken in not losing the subject. A. Lost tail. B. Casing. C. Ponytail. Or letter D. Closed tail. Number 13. A surveillance activity for the purpose of waiting the anticipated arrival of a suspect or observing his actions from a fixed location. A. Casing. B. Tailing. C. Stakeout. Or letter D. Espionage. Number 14. An examination of an individual's person, houses, or effects, or a building or premises with the purpose of discovering contrabands or personal properties connected in a crime. Is it letter A, search, B, raid, C, investigation, or letter D, seizure? Number 15. Ways and means are resorted for the purpose of trapping and capturing the lawbreaker during the execution of a criminal act. Letter A, instigation. Letter B, inducement. Letter C, bypass operation. Or letter D, entrapment. Number 16. The discreet observation of places, persons, and vehicles for the purpose of obtaining information concerning the identities or activities of suspects. A. Close observation. B. Espionage. Letter C. Tailing. Or letter D. Surveillance. Next, 17. The questioning of a person by law enforcement officers after that person has been taken into custody. A. Preliminary investigation. Letter B. Interrogation. C. Custodial investigation. Or letter D. Cross-examination. Number 18. A police activity directed toward the identification and apprehension of alleged criminals and the accumulation, preservation, and presentation of evidence regarding their alleged crimes. A. Police patrol. B. Police intelligence. C. Criminal procedure. Or letter D. Criminal investigation. Number 19. An extension or continuation of the preliminary investigation. A. Initial investigation. B. Custodial investigation. Letter C. Secondary investigation. Or letter D. Follow-up investigation. Number 20. To obtain admission and confession of guilt, it is the primary purpose of letter A, interview, B, surveillance, C, investigation, or letter D, interrogation. 21. The proper or I repeat, 21. The paper trail that records the sequence of custody, control, and transfer of evidence. A. Chain of custody. Letter B. Corpus delicti. Letter C. Chain of event. Or letter D. Chronological record of facts. 22. This doctrine excludes any evidence exposed through other evidence attained by an illegal search, seizure, or arrest. A. Fruits of poisonous tree. B. Mistake of fact. C. Chain of custody. Or letter D. Corpus delicti. 23. One of the 6 cardinal points of investigation, except A. Where? B. How much? C. What? Or letter D. Why? 24. The investigator handling the case, when serious in nature, should file the criminal complaint in letter A. Chief of Police, B. Court, C. Prosecutor's Office, or letter D. Barangay Captain for settlement. Next, number 25. An inquiry conducted by law enforcement officers who have jurisdiction over the case for the purpose of gathering evidence for use in the prosecution of the offender before the justice system. A. Preliminary investigation. B. Initial investigation. C. Criminal investigation. Or letter D. Custodial investigation. Okay, so natapos na natin ang ating self-evaluation sa subject na ito. Mangyari lamang na i-check nyo na ang inyong makasagutan gamit ang key to correction na nandito sa ating description box. Alright, so hanggang sa muli, maraming salamat. See you again next meeting.